for me, I saw a lot of those stories happen of the meteoric, like just success. And then the next year, you wonder, hey, what happened to this person? For me, it was super helpful to see that journey of people. And then, you know, like what you're doing now, sharing your story and how you've navigated that, because it's not that I'm paranoid, but I'm just that much more cautious with, okay, when the money is coming in, how do I save it? How do I make this last beyond just this year that I'm popping? Because it's something that you're not going to have forever.
Right. But I'm telling you, there's a time, especially when I see the young people like, oh, I've got a hit video. And they might show up here in this magazine or here. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, because it goes to your head. And now they're riding around the scooters and they're getting these new cars. And oh, I'm buying this house. I'm like, all it takes is for YouTube or whatever your medium is to go, you know what? Let's switch this. Or the president go, you know what? I don't even like TikTok anymore. I'm just gonna take it down. You're just like, I'm like, oh, allow these people. You know, anything can happen, you know, and your gravy train just goes swoop.
Yeah. So let's talk about that moment. So you're at the top of the top.
I'm the top of the top. I'm the most recognizable face everywhere. Yeah. Still recognize. I'm like, how do you recognize me with a mask on in the grocery store? You know, how? Let's Glozell. Like, how? Glozell. You know, once I start talking, you're just like, no. So it's very interesting. And Tupac said it best. He said, F the fame, give me the money. And I'm like, you know what, Tupac, you're still telling the truth, because people recognizing you and knowing you as you like go into the laundromat, like, can I take a picture with you? Can I wash my drawers first? Can I get my underwear in the washing machine? Can I, you know, put the quarters in first? Oh, can we not take a picture with the homeless person in the back of us right here so we can look like you know, like that's where I am. Like, you know, I'm broken. My car is broken down on the side of the street, and people like, I'm like, oh, someone came to help. Oh, they taking pictures. Oh, let's close out.
Yeah, and I'm sure. So you're racking tens of millions of views on YouTube. So I'm sure that Google AdSense is.
I've gone over 1 billion views. All my videos together has been over 1 billion views, and have been on other people's channels. You know, and in different countries, and on television, and all these things, and they're still going. And all of a sudden, I'm the breadwinner, which was no problem. But then it's like, oh, something's not working. You know, we're divorcing, and then there's no money coming in. So now I got to find a place, look for a place. I'm a single mom, don't have any money coming in, and you're paying for a divorce. They all hit at once. So it went completely dry. And that's when, and I'm not going to cry, hallelujah. But that's when you know who your friends are. Because a lot of people who you think are good until there's a problem. And even because they're like, well, she's going to ask me for money. Well, yeah, I need it, so I'm going to ask. But there's been a lot of people who really stood up for me. And now things are swinging back in the right direction. And one of those, the Singleton Foundation found, I don't know I had to ask them, how did they find me? Because all of a sudden, like, here I am, it was a perfect match, because I'm talking about exactly what's going on. I'm like, they're like, do you know anybody who has a story of, you know, maybe, you know, rise and fall? I'm like, I'm living it right now. Will you be willing to share your story? I'm like, sure. I have nothing to lose. I have nothing. And I'm like, so I look at those young people and I'm like, if I might tell my story, it could help you even save your life, because there's times where you're like, why am I here? Like, I used to be somebody, you know. I'm talking to presidents, sitting presidents in the White House. I interviewed Hillary Clinton, former Secretary Hillary Clinton, next, after never interviewing anybody ever. So you thinking, and you're Vanity Fair, I mean, People Magazine, I'm all these things, and I'm like, how are we gonna eat? I got a child. What am I going to do? How am I keep the lights on? How am I keep her from now, you know, somebody else wants full custody? And this is a nuts. So this is where I was. And I had some people who really step up, and a lot of faith, and a lot of like, okay, you got to keep going. And the people who you think going to be there for you, even though they love you, like my mom, she's like, well, you need to stay where you are. You know, you need to stay with, and I'm like, this situation is not working, but she's old school. The reason why I bring up her is because some people, money and their spirituality comes together. Like she's like, you need to stay there because you got married to him. And I'm like, this is not working. And some people will stay in situations because they feel like they're bound to, and wherever that relationship is, and they feel like they might get in trouble or whatever. But that's where I was, and I took the leap anyway by myself, and then other people surfaced. And just like no one thought I was doing anything until I went to the White House, certain circles, now they're like, oh, that's good that you moved. Oh, that's great. Because I'm on the other side. There was a time where I don't know where I'm going. I had no credit. I went from no credit to bad credit because all of a sudden I'm using everything so much. So here comes the Singleton Foundation. They're like, well, what's your credit score? I'm like, I don't know. Like, well, what, how much do you make? I don't know. It fluctuates. How many people looked at my videos and was like, I don't know. So how do you pay your bills? I don't know, because I've had assistants and nannies. I don't know.
So during that time, was your management handling all of that? So you didn't have necessarily like a hands-on with it.
Right. I didn't have a hands-on. I was making the money, and I thought that was good enough. And then the bills would get paid. And now, especially then COVID hit, like there's nobody coming over. Who am I with? What's a Southern Bell? What is it? Verizon? Is it Spectrum? Like, I don't know. I didn't know anything. Here comes bills, and I'm like, I don't know how to pay this.